guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Luisa, I'm 17 and I'm from Italy. In today's video I thought I'd do an advice video, kinda big sister video. I actually saw this idea from my friend Ethan. Be sure to check out also his video. We're gonna do an advice video, what I wished I'd known before high school, because I'm gonna be a senior this year. I don't know how I feel about that. It's just crazy how quickly time passes. I have actually written down a couple of things on my pad. If I look down, I'm looking at my notes. Anyway, before we start, make sure to subscribe for more content about school in Italy, sustainability, sustainable fashion, and vlogs about my life in Italy. Give this video a like. Anyway, I think I should first give you a little bit of background. I'm 17, I'm about to turn 18 in a month. And I'm starting my 5th year of high school in Italy, because we don't have 4 years, here we have 5. And I think it's the equivalent of a senior. I've made a whole video about school in Italy here, and I have a lot of vlogs about it if you're interested, so check them out. I'm gonna link them somewhere on the screen and in the description box. Advice would be put in the work in the beginning, in the sense that if you're starting as a freshman, I think it's good if you give your best, so the teacher have a positive idea of you. It's not fair, but sometimes they are really influenced by the first impression, and if they think you're a good student, you're gonna be a good student. They will always try to help you throughout the year. While if they get a bad impression of you, they tend to be, I don't know, it's not fair, but you know what I mean. So if you're freshman, put in the work at first. Also, if you're starting the new year, like every new year, like junior, sophomore, senior, I think it's good. Even though here in Italy the first 3 months don't really count. I mean, we get graded at December, but they don't count for the final year. I speak from experience. If you get in the habit of not studying really hard at the beginning, it's difficult to pick up later, and most of the time topics you're doing in the first 3 months are important for the rest of the year, so just don't make sure you don't slack. Speaking on that, the biggest advice I could ever give as a study method is to pay attention into class. I swear by this because I used to be a swimming athlete, if you haven't watched my other video where I mention it, and so I used to train like 5 hours a day, and then I had to get out of town to get to the swimming center, so my afternoon was completely booked and busy. So one thing that really helped me, and I am a good student, I get 9 and 10s, that in Italy are the equivalent of A's, I think. One thing that really helped me was paying attention in class and taking notes. With the online classes, it's something I really struggled with. In fact, I can't wait to go back in person in school, at least for my last year. Pay attention, make sure to make notes, because most of the time teachers want to know what they told you in class, or they really emphasize on something that is gonna be on the tests. So if you pay attention, you kinda can predict where they're gonna put in the next text, or what kind of questions they're gonna ask you. Because here in Italy we have written tests and oral tests. I wrote take part in everything at the beginning. Something I wish I had done more was take part in more like extracurricular activity offered by the school, but as I said, I was a swimming athlete, so I didn't really have the time. But since I quit the swimming, I took part almost everything this school offered, and I think it's a good way to get to know yourself better, get to know what you like, what you don't like. Sometimes it might feel like a waste of time, but at the end of the day you actually learn something about yourself, so I think that's really helpful. And by take part in everything, I also meant like we have assemblies at the schools that may be different from American assemblies. And at the start, in my freshman year especially, I didn't go to all of them because I said it's a waste of time, I need to study, because I have to go on a race this weekend, so it's better to think ahead and study and stay home. But actually they're a part of the high school experience, and they are a little bit intimidating because there were a lot of people going around. I was way more shy and insecure in my first year, so I felt a bit intimidated by that. But good comes from pushing out of your comfort zone, so make sure to take part in all the assemblies and the school activities. One thing that also put down is learn time management. As I said, you're gonna take part in a lot of activities and you still need to study, so time management is a useful skill. I think I've learned this like in middle school. I've always been really busy with swimming and been swimming at a professional kind of level since I was in my elementary school. My afternoons were always busy, so I learned time management, but I think it's something that if you're not really busy, you don't think about. I'm a bit advocate for optimizing time. I like to stay busy. I kinda do it to myself, even though then I have mental breakdowns. But yeah, so I remember one thing I did when I was like swimming was when we were assigned essay. I used to write them on my notes in my phone on the car journey to the swimming center. It was half an hour. Then since like starting my small business in YouTube and online classes, stuff like that, I timetable on my Google Calendar. I make sure to always have a to-do list. I bought a planner, make sure to buy a planner, and I would say plan. At least if you want to do a lot of things. Really useful to me to have the view of the whole week and understand what I have to do, what appointments I have, and then plan around that. And sometimes I plan too specific and I don't keep the time for inconveniences, but yeah, make sure to also have time. If something comes up, you have the time to reschedule. But let me know if you want a whole video how organized, how I plan my weeks and stuff like that. Here is an advice I would give to anyone who wants to study abroad. And I don't know if I've published my first update yet. I don't think I have by the time this video goes up, but I would say take your C1 exam level. If it's Cambridge, it doesn't expire. If it's from other organization, it does. So make sure you take your C1 Cambridge exam if you want to study abroad in your 3rd or 4th year. I did my PON with school, the course with my school for B2 in my 3rd year, but then it got cancelled because of COVID, then we finished it in my 4th year. And instead of going for the B2, I was confident I could pass the C1 level, so I took the C1 level. And let me tell you, it's a weight off your shoulders once you're done. Like now I'm starting to look for universities, and I know I already have the certification they want. I made sure to pass it with enough high grade that I could apply to anywhere I wanted. If you're already thinking you want to study abroad, and most of the time school already organize these courses for English courses, make sure you sign up for the C1. Even though you don't think you may pass it, remember you can study and it's way better and you save money if you do the C1 directly. It's possible to do it, and most of the time they ask you for a C1, so if you do a B2 then you have to do a C1. I would advise to do the C1 directly. The other advice I have, don't try to fit in with the popular kids. This is something I especially learned in the year from middle school to high school. In middle school I did really try to fit in with the popular kids, and they were all fake friends and toxic most of the time. Well, at least when going to high school I really tried to make an effort into friendship and people I realized I clicked with, and it didn't matter if we were popular or not. At the end of the day, that doesn't really matter truly, but I understand where we all are coming from. We just want to fit in, but at the end of the day it's better not to fit in and you feel much happier. Speaking of friendship, I would say if your freshman year, if you're asked to hang out with certain people, you don't even know if you like them yet, make sure to say yes. And if you meet people you realize you click with and you want to hang out with them, make sure to be the first one to put an effort. I know it's difficult if you're shy, but even if you're not shy, as I said earlier, just try to step out of your comfort zone. Something we did with our class, and I think it really helped us feel closer to each other, is doing a secret Santa, for Christmas. Here in Italy it works that we are put in a class and the classmates are always the same. We don't go around classes. Like we go in a class, we sit down with the same people every day, and the professors go around, the teachers go around the different classes. And yeah, something that I think really helped us get closer was doing Secret Santa, and I think it's really cool to be close with your class. Because these are kind of the best year, they say, the golden years, but at the end of the day it's good to look back to good memories. And you might be in a class with people that you don't like, so make sure like you find your group and you make the memories with them. But if you're in a good classroom, I think it's really nice. Coming back to academics, here in Italy, sometimes our teacher allows us to organize our oral tests in advance, because most of the time they actually they decide to start the test, and they call whoever they want, or they have a system where they open a book, they open on a page, on page 3, then I need to be interrogated. I don't know how to well explain it, but yeah, if they allow you to organize with your classmate oral tests, make sure to jump on these opportunities as soon as possible. We only done this in my 4th year, and it would have made my life way easier if we had done in the previous 3 years. As I said, because I went swimming, and there were some days that I didn't really study, and yeah, you know, it can happen. I think you can really prepare well if you know when you're gonna be tested. And I know the teacher, some of them are gonna say you have to study every day no matter what, but yeah, from our point of view it's better like that. One realization I had is actually you're gonna change a lot. These years are really important for yourself, and the things that happen during these years, they can really shape you. But yeah, I realized that when I started high school, I wanted to be a swimmer champion, as I said, and I wanted to get into an army, and right now my goals and dreams couldn't be more different. So yeah, and just embrace this change. I know it's like really scary, trust me. I've been there, done that. But yeah, embrace the change, try new opportunities. You're gonna grow, so don't get fixed on something specific. Another thing is try to change your mindset to a growth mindset. This is something I've learned from Angela Jade. She really did inspire me, and she helped me grow a lot. But sometimes, at least in my high school year in Italy, you get a set of subjects you have to study. You can choose them. You can choose the school you go to, like as I said in this video, scientific or classic or art school. But then like these subjects are set, you have to study them. So one thing that really helps me when I feel really demotivated and I feel like what's the point, I don't even want to do this at university, I try to think, well, I get to learn this, I get to study, I get to have an education. Kids in the world don't have it, and overall this is gonna help me learn something about myself. For example, that I don't like this subject or stuff like that. And I think something that's really helpful also to study things you're not really passionate about is to connect them to something you're passionate about. Sometimes we're art and stuff like that, I find it really useful to connect it to some artists and albums I listen to, because sometimes they're actually really inspired by that, or with chemistry and stuff like that, to climate change and the recent discoveries. I know it's difficult, and in the first years I was really unmotivated towards certain type of subjects. Even now it's difficult to think this way sometimes, that like during all like classes with chemistry was really like, oh, why am I learning this? I want to do computer science. This is not gonna help me. But yeah, just try to reframe that and enjoy this way. Another thing I've learned, and I wish I knew sooner, was to detach my self-worth from grades. In the first year I used to be like really obsessed, and I've always been like obsessed to get the highest grade, just because I was a swimming athlete, and I wanted to prove to my parents that I could do both to a really high level, and they didn't really pressure me a lot. Like my mom knows that I have potential, so she always pushes me, but it was more like something, a pressure I put myself under, that I always had to be the best, and I always had to get the highest grade. And I think maybe it's something that even swimming like unconsciously me on, because you know, the competitiveness. I was at a point where like I started always think of myself as a good student or someone that can get high grades. And when I started like in the last 2 years with doing different things and be passionate about other things, my grades had go down a little. I really like took it bad, or when I didn't take the grade that I wanted. I cried a lot. I can really say now that I'm happy that I don't attach my self-worth to grades anymore. I don't really care anymore about grades. The grades I'm gonna get at the end of my senior year is gonna matter a little bit just to get into university, but after that it doesn't really matter if I take the maximum of 100 or if I take a little bit less. I definitely don't attach myself worth to that anymore, but it's still a little bit difficult when you don't get the grade you wanted. So my battery died, but anyway, I was saying that detach your self-worth from grades, and I learned this from Angeli Jade, so make sure to check her out. And yes, let's move on to the next point, which is if you skip school, tell your parents. If you're skipping school because you don't want to be like, you don't want to do a test, that's all other thing. But if you want to do it just for the sake of doing it, or you want to do something rebel, as I wanted to do, just tell your parents. I did it in middle school, and they found out like immediately. And it was the day I actually qualified for nationals with swimming. It was supposed to be the best day of my life, and then I came back home and it became the worst day. So always depends with the relationship with your parents if you want to skip school, because there are tests. But if you want to just keep it and go for an adventure with your friends, just tell them so they know where you are and they not get worried. And yeah, I have a pretty open relationship with my parents. They trust me. Since that time they didn't trust me, but since then we worked we worked out the whole situation, and now they trust me. So if you want to skip school to be a rebel and go for an adventure, just tell them so they don't worry. I said go out with people after school. It's something I regret a little bit from my freshman year, because in our first 2 years in licei Italian schools, high schools, we go at 12:15 instead of 13:15, and in that time sometimes they go out to the bar, to the cafe, or to get a gelato if the weather is hot. Most of the times I didn't do that because I was like, I need to get home and study in that hour, because in the afternoon I have to go to swim practice, so I won't have time to study. And I wish it was something I'd done more, so I'm giving it to you as advice. And then the last thing I wrote is, it's over before you know it, so make it memorable. And then something I'm planning to do for this year. I've already kind of think about the things I want to do for my senior year and to before I finish high school, so let me know if you want a video about that. I'm probably gonna do a vlog because it's something we're gonna do with my friends. And yeah, so these were my advice. I hope they were helpful. If you have any more advice, leave them down below and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching and taking time out of your day to hang out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!